Hey everyone, it's John with Vermont Homesteader, and as you can see, I'm out in the garden today. And what I'm doing today is I'm just weeding, 3 rows and the sweet potatoes, and I'm also pulling lower leaves off my green leafy vegetables. I already did the broccoli and the Brussels this morning. I got to go through the cabbage and the rutabaga, and then the store-bought plants over there, and some of the tomatoes. And like I've talked about before, you really want to get rid of those lower leaves. I see I missed one, broccoli, and get rid of them, because all you really need is these upper leaves, and these upper leaves will catch the sun and help the plant grow. And the lower leaves, by removing them, less energy goes in the leaves and more energy goes into the vegetable that's going to be growing, and that's what we want. So that's what I'm going to be doing out here today. Looks like I got to weed the kale and the carrots. And that's about it for today over here. And then I'll go weed the sweet potatoes. And then over the next few days, I'll just do 2 or 3 rows at a time. And then after that, I'm going to pull off leaves off of some of this green leafy stuff. I saw some nice rutabaga growing. The onions are doing really good. I picked some garlic the other day. It wasn't huge, but the plant had died, so it was time for it to go. The rest of the garlic will probably go over the next 2 weeks, and I'll have to pick that. And like I said, this year I'm going to plant the garlic in the fall, and then I'll get spring garlic, hopefully some really big bulbs. And I'm going to plant them a lot tighter, about 8 inches apart, 3 solid rows, and I should get a lot of garlic. But the plants are coming along nice. We ought to start to see some broccoli heads forming here pretty quick. We've already got lots of tomatoes, got tons of peas. We're going to have to pick peas soon. The beans are just flowering, so we'll have beans soon. Corn's doing good. Nothing's doing bad this year. This is the best the garden has been in years, so I'm really happy with it. And I'll just give you an overview of the entire garden when I get done with all this. So I weeded out this row of kale. And you can see as I weed it out, I try and get rid of all the grasses. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just trying to clean it up. But I leave the purslane. This is purslane again. I talked about this in a previous video. And it is very edible. I think you can see it there. Let me get it away. That is purslane. Grows naturally and wild in Vermont. You can eat it. It's pretty sweet. I put it in my salads. You can see I left it wherever I found it growing in here, as long as it wasn't interfering with the kale. And yeah, I like it, so I leave it. And like I said, I haven't gotten to canning or freezing it. I don't know how it would hold up. It'd probably be fine in canning, but yeah, I like it, so I leave it in my rows until it'll form a mat, and if it gets too much, I'll yank some of it so it doesn't overgrow the garden. But it's just another vegetable to me, and it comes naturally. I don't have to plant it, and it comes every year. See you soon. So I got the rows weeded that I wanted to get weeded, and these first 2 rows of green leafies are already done. I took the lower leaves off. So now I'm going to start in these 2 rows, and then I'm going to hop over to the rows over there, and I'm going to pull all the lower leaves off. This is cabbage. You definitely want to do it with the lower leaves on cabbage, because that's how you'll get it to form a really nice head. And this is rutabaga, and Rutabaga, you're not, you can actually eat rutabaga leaves if you want, but if it has less lower leaves, you'll get a bigger turnip at the end of the year. So we're going to be pulling those leaves off as well. So, in the rutabaga, there's some big weeds, I'll pull them out, but there are very few little weeds because the rutabaga leaves are so large that they really block out anything else. But the leaves, as I pull them off, which I've been doing in the cabbage, I keep the leaves and I put them in my compost pile. You don't put weeds in your compost pile, but leaves off of plants, yeah, those I'll keep. You can also, like I said, you can put rutabaga leaves in your salad if you want, and I do that sometimes. They're pretty tasty too. It's just like another green, another lettuce that you put in your salad along with the spinach and the kale and some purslane. So it's all good. And just remember to hunt, grow, and fish your food, because it's important to get close to the ground. It's important to get closer to your food. We're so far removed from our food nowadays. You know, people are so used to just going to the store, picking up dinner, going home, and it's either cooked already or they make it real easy. And that's great as long as the stores are still there and nothing bad has happened. But just look at COVID, look at when there's a hurricane, really bad hurricane, look at when there's a big winter storm, maybe power's out for a week. The store shelves are almost bare. People run in there, they grab stuff, they empty the store out in no time. And if you can be close to your own food, if you can have food security on your own, you don't have to worry about that. You don't even have to go to the store. Power goes out, you go downstairs, you get a jar of stew or a jar of soup or some squash or something that you canned, some beans, some peas, and you just bring it upstairs and you cook it on your little propane stove, and you're good to go. And you don't have to deal with all that hassle that's going on out in the world. You can be secure in your home with your food, and you know where it came from. You know it's organic, you know you raised it right, you didn't spray it with a bunch of chemicals, you know you bought heirloom organic seeds. Stuff in the store, it's all genetically altered, hybrid, it's sprayed with all kinds of terrible stuff. So yeah, grow a big garden. It's labor intensive, it takes time. You gotta love to do it, or you're gonna hate doing it every time you come out here. But I like feeling the soil in my hands. My hands are filthy. I like having the plants here and watching the food grow, and then pulling it out of the ground, thanking God for it, and putting it in my house for my family. And I hope you do too. So I pulled all these leaves off the rutabaga. Looks like I ripped all the plants apart, but I didn't, because there's the row of rutabaga, and it is fine all the way down through. I just got off the lower leaves. It allows the plants to breathe, and more energy will go down into the bulbs of the turnip. Here's a good one right here. Right there. It's a nice turnip growing. And that's what we want them all to look like about this time of year. Some of them are kind of small and stunted, So it's important to get those lower leaves off. And I may even have to pull some whole plants, some of the smaller plants out, to give the larger plants more room to breathe and room to grow. But that's gardening for you, and I'm going to keep at it. On tomato plants, when I'm pulling branches, I look for the branches that are leaning down towards the ground, like this one. It's not aiming up, it's aiming towards the top, and you want to break that branch off because they are going to yellow and die, and those are the ones that can give you or get your plant blight. And we have a lot of blight in our tomato plants here, and we want to try and avoid that. So any branches aiming down towards the ground, they come off. Well, the sweet potatoes are weeded. It's the last thing I needed to do today. They're looking really good. Corn's looking really good. There's my last pile of leaves. Right here we got broccoli, Brussels, and then cabbage back there, as well as tomatoes. These are all from Hillside Botanicals. I bought some of their starters, also some regular peppers and some jalapeno peppers back there. Back to stuff from seed, beans. They are all flowering and forming tiny little bean pods. Tomatoes, doing great. This is 3 rows of various peppers, which them and the spinach, I'll get to weeding them probably Monday. These 4 rows right here of spinach. It's supposed to be jalapeno peppers, regular peppers, and banana peppers. The peppers didn't do real good. I've got some. When I weed them, you'll be able to see them a lot better. But they're there. I can see them. Just not as many as I would have liked. Same thing with the spinach. I got some spinach. I replanted it twice. And I got a little more spinach, but still not as much as I'd like. Peas are getting to be out of control, and that's fine. You know, that's why we got the fence there. And it's time to pick. We'll be picking these all next week. Some every day, probably. And usually, you know, we don't grow enough peas to put up, so we just eat them. Throw them in stir fry or eat them as a snack. I bring them when I go mow. Rutabaga, aka turnip, very good, doing well. This is cabbage, also doing well. This is Brussels sprouts, doing well. And this is broccoli. There's a few volunteer tomatoes. I think there's 4 plants in there. You can see the closest ones right here. They grew from last year's seed, just popped up. Carrots, kale, lettuce, looking good. Onions, doing great. Garlics, almost all ready to pick. Most of the stalks are brown and bending over, which means that they're ready to pick. There's a few still standing up straight that I'll leave, but all these ones that are bending over, I can pick them anytime. Strawberries, they're coming to their end, but there's still some really juicy ones on there, including this one here that I'm going to pick and I'm going to eat because I'm hot. So good. Blueberries are doing great. They're getting big and plump, and just waiting for them to blue up. The parsley, that's cilantro, sorry. Cilantro started coming up. Parsley started coming up. This oregano is starting to regrow. We're going to get another harvest out of that. Basil, it's about ready to trim again. There's the 2 celeries that I planted. I did some shorts on that. And dill. We keep pulling dill off these plants and it just keeps growing. Some dill and chives. That dill is from last year. It reseeded on there and it's in there with the chives. And everything is looking great. That's rhubarb. Not going to be picking it this year. We'll probably transplant those into another spot next year and hopefully grow some more rhubarb, and we'll get ourselves a pretty good rhubarb patch. But that's the whole garden, and it's doing well. It's one of the best gardens I've ever had. The plastic has really helped with the weeding in between the rows, so I'm basically just weeding down each row, which is really nice. That's hard enough as it is. And it's looking really good. I'm really pleased with it. We ate our first pepper today. Eggs and bacon on the Blackstone. We've eaten some peas already. Can't wait for the sweet corn to come up. And that's what's going on here in the garden here at Vermont Homesteader. So grow, hunt, and fish your own food. Food security is important. Get closer to your food. And in times where it's tough and money's scarce or food's scarce, and might not even be some world-ending event, might just be you lost your job or you got hurt on the job and you don't have great insurance and you can't work and you need money. And yeah, there's safety nets, but I don't like to rely on safety nets. I'd rather rely on myself. So plant a garden. Doesn't have to be a big one. Start out small, experiment, see what grows for you in your climate, in your area, and make some food. Learn how to fish. Learn how to hunt. You don't have to hunt with a gun if you don't like guns. You can use bows. I use bow and arrow more than anything else. You can use muzzleloader, rifle, shotgun, handgun, all kinds of different hunting. But in the end, just grow, hunt, and fish your own food. Vermont Homesteader, and I hope you all have a good day.